Apartment 7A. So this is an interesting movie if you don't know what this movie is, because this movie's been kind of going under the radar, not marketed at all. And it is kind of a little bit of an odd little film. Basically, this is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby. It came out on Paramount Plus today at the time of recording this video. And it's not really been marketed at all. And I think that's just because I think if you're a fan of Rosemary's Baby, making a prequel is very weird for a couple reasons. First of all, original is like one of the greatest horror movies ever made. It's one of the greatest films ever made in a lot of ways. I have a review for it on the channel. It's such a interesting movie, but it's so hard to recapture that magic of that movie. And then also, the director is Roman Polanski, who, let's be real, awful person. We don't need to get into that stuff. I'm sure everybody knows, watching this video, knows that name, knows all the details. But what I am saying is, you're going to remake and bring attention to one of his movies? A little bit odd. So I sat down, watched this movie. And maybe that's why this movie kind of went under the radars, because Paramount wanted to milk this franchise, but also didn't want to do it in a way where they get a lot of negative headlines, because I don't know. But so I sat down, watched it. I did actually really like the trailer. I thought it looked kind of interesting, and I gotta say, this is one of those movies that is so close to being an actually pretty good movie, but it just has one big flaw that destroys everything that works for it, and that is the writing, and the story, and just all that stuff. It just, let's start with the positive, and we'll get into that. This movie is clearly made by a director who is a fan of that original movie, and you feel that in every bit of this movie. The way they recreate how everything looks and feels, and that music, that vibe, that tone of that original movie, it's all here. You feel very much within that world of Rosemary's Baby. You almost feel like this could have been made in the 70s when that original movie was made. Or was it the 60s? I forget. But, same time period kind of deal. You really feel all that within this. It has a certain look and vibe to it that is just really fantastic. I was immediately, when I turned on the film, sucked back into that world. And then the performance here from our lead actress, I'm forgetting her name, she's incredible. She carries this movie, her dreams of wanting to be a dancer, be an actress, and where that takes her throughout the original. I felt, kind of reminded me of Substance a little bit, because I just watched that, had similar vibes to that, but it's not on the same level. And dark and disturbing directions that movie goes, but it definitely has a lot of that stuff in the movie and ideas that's explored. So all that is enough for this movie to be watchable and be very enjoyable throughout the hour and 44-minute runtime. Even though I think this movie could have been easily cut down to an hour and a half. Did not need to be as long as it was. But the main problem that holds this movie back is that while this prequel does add things to that original movie, while this prequel has things about it that make this movie work enough, it just can't save the writing, which is that they literally just try to do Rosemary's Baby again, beat for beat. Not shot for shot, but definitely beat for beat. Every direction this movie's going to go, because while it's slightly different enough, it's still the same story. And if you're a fan of that original movie, you recognize that, and you feel kind of just really, we're just doing this again? And that's just the whole vibe you're watching this movie with. And it's unfortunate, because I love so many aspects of this movie. When I saw that trailer and saw how well they were recreating the tone in that trailer, I was like, man, if the movie can just do that, it'll be great. And then I watched the movie, and it did do that, and it wasn't great because of the writing. It just kind of ruined this film overall. So, I don't know. I think if you have Paramount Plus and you're curious, it's worth a watch because it does add some cool context and some sequences to that original movie, which I won't spoil. But for the most part, it is not a great horror movie. You won't really remember it. But I feel like, this is one that maybe some horror fans in a few years will be like, oh, it's underrated. Kind of adds a little bit more. Not really. It's not underrated. It's a very flawed film. It could have been great, but why are you trying to recreate this film so much? I don't know. At least it turned out better than Pet Sematary Bloodlines. That was not good, and no one talks about that, so